happen in the world. Because if you hadn't noticed yet, God's work isn't done by God, it's done by people. It's done through people.
We're vessels.
Because we're here in this physical experience is what we do here. So if we can step into that consideration, that this breath that moves through us is something that's sacred. It's something I can't even explain. But it's the very essence of what is making all of this happen. And if we can say, I was important enough to give birth to, then I must matter. I must be here for a reason. And if I matter and I'm here for a reason, the only way that I'm ever going to live into that purpose is if I support myself with the right environment. So not only by supporting myself with the right environment, by what I give my attention to, but the things that I choose to consume. By doing that, not only do I give myself a better experience, but then by me being in a state of thriving, I have more of myself to give to others.
Right.
That's how much I matter. What if success is not losing compassion for myself or those who cross my path? What if success is remembering that I am worthy and valuable even if life doesn't show me that in the way that I'm expecting to see it? Then we start to be able to see things, like have the eyes to see and have the ears to hear what lies beyond the physical. And you said something key earlier that could easily be overlooked. It's not just that we take it in, it's also that we admit it out. So how we choose to be is a driving pivotal force. And like the change that we want to see in the world, that is why we have to be it. It's not just that you get inundated with all this garbage, so figure out how to balance yourself. No, you have the ability to balance yourself, which is why you're inundated with all the garbage. It's being sent to you because you're the chosen one and you can be responsible with it. And when you can commit to doing no harm to yourself or others, regardless of what life brings you, you become so powerful. You become absolutely unstoppable. And it seems like, well, no, the powerful one is the one who can like crush anything along the way. Is it? Or do we know that there's power within that resilience, within that knowingness within yourself? And we can just flip that paradigm. We can say, you know what? It's not just about everything that's coming into me. It also matters, what am I putting back out into the world? How am I taking this energy in through my chakra systems, in through my energy centers of the body, processing it, and then bringing it back out through the physical, which is the way that I look at it. What if instead of pursuing things to change anything, you pursue everything just to honor them? And I realized like the best way to honor the gifts and the calling that I have on my heart is to risk people judging me. So it took me really learning who I am and who I'm not in order to be able to have a level of certainty and knowingness within myself. And not to say that that doesn't get shook on a regular basis too. It's an ongoing opportunity, but that's the thing about this 3D world. You don't just get some of it, you get all of it. So when we say, I want this great, amazing life of fulfillment, guess what you get to go with that? All the misery and suffering that makes the fulfillment fulfilling, because you get the contrast. You don't just get to pick and choose, I get all the rewards at the end. If you want the rewards in the end, sweetheart, you're going to go through all the crap that goes along the way. And guess what happens when you get that reward? You still get the opportunity to choose who and how you're going to be and how you're going to feel about it all. We just haven't been told that we're choosing how we feel. We're running off of default reactiveness because our nervous systems aren't settled, because we're in a state of distress and survival, because all of society is saying, oh my gosh, you're late and wrong and you're never going to make it in some form or fashion everywhere we look. Or we might not make it. Let's hope for the best, but we might not. Just have an ice cream instead. Have a beer, just feel good. Challenge yourself not to sacrifice a fulfilling life experience for momentary, fleeting sensations. Like when I realized like that cake.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. And for those of you who subscribe to Jay Speaks, thank you so much and welcome back. As you notice, my mission is my passion to bring to you all conversation topics that are positive, motivational, educational, and informational. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy to be here with Crissy Keye Rollins, holistic healer and mentor for empaths, healers, therapists, and other big feelers who want to make a powerful and positive impact on the lives of others. Crissy helps you to create your own personal healing practice so that you can identify and bring to balance all the areas in your life that are keeping you distracted from taking consistent action and making the impact that you desire to make in this world. Through her business, Holistic Restoration, Crissy helps you to simplify overwhelm by bringing to balance the top 3 areas in your life that are keeping you distracted. And those are your physical and mental well-being, your relationships, and your ability to attract constant income. By bringing to balance these 3 areas in your life allows you to align and attract in a very powerful way. Ladies and gentlemen, please sit back, relax, and most importantly, listen. And hope that today's episode you understand for yourself that it is Crissy's goal to help entrepreneurs like you relax into an authentic expression of entrepreneurship by allowing your business to become a fuller expression of who you are in this world and get the results that you desire. 5, 4. So Crissy, how are you?
I'm doing well, John. Thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming down. Thank
Absolutely.
you. How have you been since the last time we spoke?
I have been doing well, very busy. It's been, I guess, a roller coaster of a year would be a common saying that I hear a lot of people say. I know that I'm probably not alone. The year started off with like one image of what's going to be happening, and then life kind of threw things in a different direction. All beautiful, all aligned, but just unexpected. And so now here we are, almost halfway through the year, and it's just mind-blowing. So much has gone on since the start of the year.
Absolutely.
And I think it was like towards the end of last year, the last time that you and I chatted.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been like night and day, but all good things.
Glad we were able to see this through.
For sure.
So
Me too.
Talk about, if you don't mind sharing, talk about the vision in the beginning of the year and how it's transformed.
Yeah, so this is actually my 20th year in business. I started my practice in December of 2006. So I've had a lot that has transpired over a number of years. I've had a whole evolution from starting out as a licensed massage and bodywork therapist, which I still am today, but there's just been an evolution that has deepened and expanded the work that I've done. And now I feel like it's almost like year 1 in a way, even though it's year 20, because I feel like what I have built over the last 20 years, it's time to lay down a new foundation to allow that to support everything that I'm going to do moving forward. Because I didn't see what was coming when I got the massage license and headed out on my own. I didn't see the progression. I couldn't see where my life was headed exactly. I didn't think that I would still be doing massage 20 years later. That really wasn't an occurrence to me at all. So, finding myself here with so much that I have built along the way, instead of just continuing to just like plug forward, I'm really taking that step back and assessing, recognizing the growth that I have been through, that my practice has been through, and being thoughtful about what's been created and really stewarding all that has taken me to get here and that has been brought to me so far to allow the next level, whatever this next 20 years is going to look like, to unfold, to have a solid foundation, because that's what I have found to be most important, to build a solid foundation and then find the right systems to help to support the habits that allow me to be the best steward and the best service to all that I've been given. So I'm excited to go into this next decade of service with that being what leads the way, instead of this just taking it on more as a business that I got to figure out how to work and make sure that I do the right thing to get the right thing in return. It's grown into just an extension of how I live my life regardless if I'm in my business or if I'm serving a client or if I'm doing something in my personal life. All the work that I bring to the table, it's all been integrated within my life. And now I feel very passionate to show people, how do you take these same concepts, ideas, modalities in a purchase and find the right way for you? So I feel like I started the year with this idea like, okay, I'm just going to kind of buckle down and go in this direction. And then life said, but wait a minute, didn't you say you wanted to expand? Didn't you say you wanted to have people gather? Didn't you say you wanted to teach more people what is making a difference in your life? And it gave me the opportunity to acquire the space across the hall from the room that I currently use for healing sessions. And that just like opened the door to allowing me to like live into some of what I've been carrying in my mind to do in person. And I spent a big chunk of time creating online workshops and learning experiences and different video series for people to work through the internal work that it takes to transform your body, your life, and your business. And take that and start to do in-person gatherings, start to teach and show people not how to only like replicate and do the things that I'm doing in my life, but how do you hold space to show the way for other people? How do you really create healing practices? How do you allow yourself not only to follow your passion, but do it in a way that allows you to thrive and become more of who you are in the world and to bring out more from other people? So this year has unfolded not just, me kind of keeping my head down in my own lane, continue with my own creations, but really kind of like putting me to the grind that now's the time to literally open the door and allow people to start to gather and hold space for people to have experiences and show them and introduce them to the more of who they are. And again, how can you take that into all aspects of your life? And for those that really feel called to replicate the same thing, to be able to support themselves or support their families through supporting other people, I just really feel strongly called that now's the time to not put that off anymore and to just show up and go for it and trust that the rest will unfold if the willingness and the commitment is there on my part.
Thank you. So talk a little bit more about that, having the wherewithal to keep going and the progression of yourself, the progression of you as a professional, you as a business, knowing that I need to go forward, I want to go forward, I'm relentless going forward, but I don't know what's in my future. I don't know how I'm going to be able to navigate the future, but I do know that I want to go straight. How did you navigate that uncertainty?
Yeah, I think that it's important to have this conversation. And it's part of the reason that I got into business coaching and working with other people that wanted to figure out how to monetize their passions, especially those that are like, I just want to make a difference for other people. If they would just show up, I would do it. I spent the first part of my practice doing as much business training and getting as much mentorship and guidance as possible because I was just really determined. Like I didn't do this to just see how it went. I wasn't like financially supported by my partner. My partner and I, we've been together for 24 years now. And we've always had the agreement that we're going to bring equal to the table. So it was never an opportunity. Like I didn't have the choice to just have it not work. It had to work. So I took every business training. I was lucky to have a lot of mentors put into my life that could help to show the way. And I was introduced to your more traditional way of doing business, which anybody who's ever built a business knows that it's more of a numbers game. People got to know, like, and trust you. You have to introduce people to your product 7 times before it's familiar enough for them to make a decision. You have to talk for every 10 people, you're going to get 1 yes. Out of every 10 yeses, you're going to get 1 person who goes all the way. Like it was all a number game. And I found for myself, it was really hard to get myself to show up and do some of the steps that was being asked of me. It was just completely out of my comfort zone to call people up and be like, hey, do you want to buy my stuff? It never felt good to me. So I was never really excited to do that. But they said that what I wanted's on the other side. So I got to figure out how to do that. And I got into this really interesting push-pull space with myself where I realized like, I want this, but I'm not doing what it takes. So is the problem me? Or is the problem the system? Well, I see that other people are using the system and it's getting the results, but on the days that I do show up and I follow through, I don't get the same results. Whenever I do get the same results, they don't stick around as long. So is it just doing the right thing in the right way, looking the right way? Or is there something more to the story? How come one person shows up and follows through all the way, another person doesn't show up and doesn't follow through all the way? How come one person shows up, follows through, does all the things, and then they don't get the same thing? Like, if this is something like this is tried and true, why aren't we all getting the same results? And I thought, and maybe this was because this came a few years into me building my practice. I definitely was only offering massage therapy at the time. I started to do nutritional cleanse coaching because I was on a journey. I was on a mission to change my body because I was not happy with the way that it presented. I was about 60 pounds heavier than I am right now. And that was just a constant in my life. I kind of fluctuate up and down 40 to 60 pounds over and over. I spent so much of my 20s and 30s just chasing to get some kind of result, to get my body to change and be right. And then I'm chasing these business results and I'm not getting those either. And it was just all this chasing, trying to replicate what people said to do, trying to be enough, be consistent enough, show up enough. And sometimes I just wouldn't. And again, when I didn't always get the same results. So then I thought, with body work and with energy work, you're opening up the door to, like, there's more to the story. You're not just treating the body. You're considering the fact that there's an energetic self. When we talk about energetic self, it's just the non-physical part of you. You have your physical body, the one that you're used to seeing whenever you look in the mirror, the one that we're used to seeing when we interact with each other. It's how we are used to thinking of ourselves. But we also have a non-physical part of ourselves. It's our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our memories, our fears, our worries, our projections about the futures, what we dreamt about last night. Nobody experiences any of that except for us. And the only way people experience that is what we bring through the physical, through sharing through our stories, or the choices that we make on the other side of all that non-physical influence of our physical self. I mean, wouldn't you say that there's a very real part of you that's just as real as this physical body that is in this unseen around you, within you, somewhere, everywhere that you go? So in considering that, I was like, what if the same thing's happening in the business world? What if it's not just the action that you take? What if it's also what you think about yourself? What if it's the energy that you bring to it? What if it's how you do something, not that you did something? And what if part of the reason that I was getting results is because whenever I would show up and take the action, I was feeling inside myself because I didn't have the confidence that the action was going to give me the result on the other side. And actually, that was like the first mindset training that I ever produced and put out for people to follow. It's a 5-day transform fear into confidence challenge. And it's just a series of 5 videos. They're very old and they are on my website. If anybody wants to go check them out, they will take you through reverse engineering action. Like, what got somebody to take the action? And when I thought about what is, like, if you peel back that layer of action, of how it appears, what would you find underneath? And I realized what is the precipice, what determines on if we take an action or not. It's confidence. It's not, I like it. It's not ability. It is confidence. If you think about, like, being a mom and all of a sudden you're driving down the road and your kid gets sick in the back seat, that is not, you don't take action because you're excited to clean up that mess. You don't even know how you're going to clean up that mess. You just know that you are confident that you are responsible for that child or for that child's well-being. You're confident that on the other side, it's going to get handled. So you just take the action and you figure it out as you go. I get chills just even saying it right now. So I realized it's confidence that determines on if we do something or not. And I bet you that's what gets people to say yes or gets people to say no. Your level of confidence. So I decided to continue to reverse engineer that because I was like, well, how do we get confidence? And I came back all the way to the core of it. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't taken the challenge. At the core of it is self-love. It is how we relate to ourself that determines if we'll go through the other steps. You got to go watch the series to get the other steps, right? But that self-love is the core. And identifying that, when I move that to be the main focus, not how many calls can I make in a day, how many hours can I exercise, how clean can I eat, how can I get all this physical stuff? What if instead I just said, no matter what you do or don't do, I'm going to love you anyway. No matter if you change body or if you stay how you are, I'm going to love you anyway. Whether you grow business or you don't, I'm going to love you anyway. Because even if I couldn't continue to pay my bills with my business, you know what I would do? I'd get a part-time job somewhere and I'd still be doing all of this. It would still be happening. And when I realized that, like realizing the whole confidence thing and the action thing, that changed things for sure. Kept me on the path. That's what got me to move beyond things and also kind of open the door to, oh, nobody seems to be talking about this because I have taken every training that is free or that I could possibly afford. And nobody's talking about this. I can hear little parts of the conversation over here, but somehow whenever I wove it all together, it just all became so clear to me. And it was working like nothing else was working in my life, which doesn't mean everything just magically came together. It just meant that I could create enough space and patience and calmness within myself to allow the inevitable to unfold instead of exhausting myself and beating myself up and making the journey so much harder than it already is going to be. Because I was in judgment and ridicule and not in a good connected space within myself. I didn't know how important that would be. I didn't know how much it would matter. In fact, I pretty much thought like my whole worth was caught up in what I could do for other people. Isn't that what makes me so great? What I can do for other people? The idea that I was worth all that I wanted to get from other people in life and to realize I was not even doing that for myself. It just gave me a different focus. It allowed me to align my energy in a different way. And I didn't even know it was going to change absolutely everything, but it totally has. And it still continues to do. And that's what's kind of led me to have more of that service focus. I'm in service to the gift that my life is. I'm in service to the fact that I was chosen by waking up with breath again today. And maybe Crissy doesn't feel like doing some of the things that Crissy's got to do. But it's not all about me and my physical, sensational experience that I have here. It's about something beyond me. And I find that when I can and I do surrender to that, the physical sensationality that I get to experience goes far beyond that which I was ever tapping into or experiencing by doing it more the traditional way of just manipulating and working with and trying to maneuver through this physical world, and instead bringing in the energetic consideration, not only of myself, not only of my business, of other people. It completely life-changing. I'm dedicated to it until it fails me. And all it does is continue to reward me deeper and deeper as I integrate it more and more. And then my challenge is, how do I share this without sounding like it's all about the physical and the egoic and, oh, look at how I got this. I hit a point where it just stopped being about any of that. I stopped needing to convince myself or convince you or to convince other people that what I have tapped into was worthwhile. I knew it was because it brought me more ease. It brought me more peace. It brought me more fulfillment. And on the other side, it brought more of the physical that I wanted, that I no longer had to have in order to give that to myself. But if we're so inundated with searching for the answers, asking AI or surveying our friends or looking at social media or keeping up with the news, we get so lost within all this physicality. In all the work that I do now, be it taking time on the healing table with body work or taking time having a sound experience or taking time to connect one-on-one and do more of the coaching mindset or even just teaching the practical steps. It's not even just, okay, you just are in alignment and now you just blindly move through life. No, if you create a system and you see what works for you, then you can have the support of the physical, the masculine, the structure, and you can be your divine feminine, flowy, natural, organic self and just flow through life. For me, a highly energetically sensitive person, which a lot of us are, but it hasn't even been brought into the conversation. So we talk about it as overwhelm, anxiety, depression, telltale signs. Quick reactive, a hothead, someone who can't regulate their own emotions. All of this is a telltale sign to me that you're energetically sensitive because we're energetically sensitive beings. And for whatever reason, could be a whole different podcast as to why or who cares why. Who cares why? This isn't the forefront of our conversation. We will lose ourselves if we get into a battle around all that because it's more the physicality. If we can just accept that there is more to the story, if we can accept that we hold more within ourselves than our physicality, and it's the balance of understanding and aligning with that energetic and then allowing that to be expressed through the physical, I feel like the rest will just sort itself out. And again, maybe I'm wrong. But I'm going to keep doing this and integrating it and following it and showing other people until it starts to fail me. And so far, it just delivers. I can't even remember what your original question was, but I'm hoping that like hit, how do I stay on the path? Like, how do I stay committed? It was when I stopped just focusing on the physical. And I started to consider that there's a whole of me that has to move forward. When I stopped trying to overcome my weaknesses and my fears, and I started to look them head on and started to question them and started to get curious about them. That's the inner work or the shadow work or the inner child, all that stuff that you kind of hear out there that's like, what are they talking about? It's the ability to look at the parts of yourself that you're terrified to face. And I found that when I started to look them in the eye, they weren't as real as I felt when I kept them all contained inside of myself and refused to look at them. And then I found, oh, you know what? I don't have a lack of discipline. I had a lack of alignment. When I was going after something because I wasn't it yet, that's a lie. That's an illusion. You're never going to get there. But if you show up knowing that it's your expression of inevitability, that is where you're destined to arrive to, and you free up that I can't do that, and you say, you can do whatever you want. You're a free being. Eat whatever you want. Do whatever you want this day. You don't have to follow your schedule. You can do whatever you want. All of a sudden, I was like, well, in that space of freedom, I think I want to show up and follow through on my schedule. I think I want to choose the foods that actually will support me. And I realized I wasn't in resistance because I wasn't enough. I was in resistance to the resistance itself. That's what needed to clear. And as soon as that was gone and I had the freedom to choose if I wanted or not, then I could recognize I don't want to. So now it becomes a non-issue and we can just move forward. But that doesn't always show up on paper. It's not always something that, you can see. And it's the stuff that you discover on the inside. If you allow the space, you're quiet enough and you're brave enough and curious enough and committed enough to just take that deep dive in and see what's there. You might be surprised and you might not be surprised. Like there's really like a part of us, I think, I believe this, and I might be wrong. It might just be me. But I think that there's a part of us that's wild about ourselves on the inside. And really the issue that we have with ourselves is the fact that all of life isn't validating and reflecting that back with every relationship and every interaction with other people. And that's really what we're disgruntled about. Isn't that jerk over in line? It's the fact that we are not being recognized. And what if we start to recognize ourselves? What if we start to validate ourselves? What if we start to be enough within ourselves? Now, all of a sudden, your opinion of me doesn't matter so much. But my opinion is so good that you're influenced by my opinion of me that you're like, wait a minute, she doesn't need me to approve of her. I kind of like that. And you can relax because I'm relaxed. Then we start to have more of an authentic experience because we're not just focused on the physical, we're welcoming in the energetic as well. And the more that I balance and align my own energy, the easier it is for other people to relax and do the same thing around me. And that's how I look at healing work now. It's not my job to manipulate your muscles or force some kind of change. It's my job to hold the space for you to feel safe enough to be able to relax within your own body, within your own mind. And when you do that, and especially when you combine that relaxed state with the physical sensation of someone working on your body, reintroducing you to the whole physical of you, creating space within your own energy field for who you are to resurface, regain your sense of self. That's what my job is to hold the space for you to be still enough and relaxed long enough to remember who you are. And I've been given the gift of words to be able to articulate and the gift of touch to be able to say, hey, when you feel this, it could be related to this within your mind. So don't just look to do different exercises and add to your to-do list and be even more than what you are now so you can feel comfortable in your body. Instead, realize that being comfortable in your body is an inside job. So when you feel that shoulder hurting, pay attention to what your mind's thinking about. What energetic weight are you shouldering that you're carrying with you instead of, I'm still not enough because my body's not being how I want it to be. Instead, we can flip that whole paradigm. What if you already are enough and you've just forgotten it? What if you already are enough and you just haven't been having the vibrational frequency experience of that enoughness that you already are? And what if everything that you've been experiencing in this physical world is because it's being influenced by the energy that you're bringing to the information that's coming in through your senses? It puts all the power back into our hands. And I don't know, maybe I'm just a recovering control freak. And this is the way that I've learned to best have control in my life. I can't control other people. I can't control circumstances. I can't even control what's going to come out of my mouth sometimes. But I can control how I choose to treat myself and how I choose to treat you and how I choose to receive every experience that is unfolding in front of me. I have the power to make that choice. And whatever story that I make up to go along with it is going to have a direct influence over how I experience, which is going to have a direct influence over how you experience me. And when I was so caught up in the physical, just trying to get it all right, trying so hard to take this more than enough that I could feel of myself inside and try to figure out how to display it or talk about it or put it out there so other people could see it and engage with it and accept it and love me. When I started doing that for myself, when I flipped that around the other way, I realized I didn't need everybody else's validation. I mean, I feel so blessed whenever I get it. I also find that it's a lot easier to get when I stop trying to get it from everybody else. So what if all of life works that way? And not to say, stop trying to get what you want. Just sit on the couch and have it delivered. What I'm saying is that if you're willing to show up and honor that commitment and meet the commitment that life has by giving you breath again today, see what happens from there. You might have a completely different, I assure you, you'll have a completely different experience of yourself. Then I want to know if you do.
Yeah.
Tell me what happens. Tell me what happens.
Everything you said, I totally agree.
Okay, good.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if this is 100% correct, but Nikola Tesla, he said, if you want to discover the wonders of the world, think and operate in energy, frequency, and vibration. And that really stuck out to me when I read it and heard it for the first time. And you were talking about how this world programs us to chase what's outside of us. But the real work, I don't know, could you say that we chase we don't need to chase ourselves, but like the real work that we need to do is it starts within us, because we're all energy. We're all balls of light, balls of energy, and we emit frequencies and we attract frequencies. And when we do that internal work and we align, I feel as though that is more than half the battle.
Yes.
And why we feel so exhausted is because we have discounted that fact.
Yes.
And we have it's like we're driving with an empty tank. And then what happens? Our form of relaxation is catharsis.
Yeah.
Which numbs our emotions.
Yep.
It's
checking out from yourself.
Checking out from ourselves.
Yeah.
And again, pushing us further and further and further away from the gold mine that lies within us.
You got it.
And that's how this system is designed.
Yeah, and again, we could sit here and we could get lost in the 3D and say, oh, then why is it this way? And what are they? What I do has been around for 5,000 years.
Right.
It's known. It's just not what is popular. It's not what is put in front of us. And again, we can take our energy and have discussions as to why, or we can just accept that that's the way that it is here.
And what's popular is what's widely accepted. Not necessarily what is true, what is widely accepted, or what is easy to digest.
Absolutely.
It is easier for somebody who's, 40, 50 years on this planet, who's been operating off of learned behavior for their whole entire life, to believe that if I just wake up an hour earlier, if I work an hour later, and I do this consistently, it's easier for me to comprehend and digest that this is how I'm going to get to my goal, versus that same person with that learned behavior and that learned mentality to say, I'm supposed to pivot 50 years into my life and just say that, or believe that everything that I thought was true is wrong.
It's brave.
people are not brave enough to do that.
It takes a level of courage. It takes a level of courage and commitment. Absolutely, without a doubt. And that's, I think, the biggest difference. But if you think that the courage is being able to stand up in front of an audience of 50 people, if you think being brave is calling a stranger on the phone and offering them what it is that you have to offer, you're missing the point. The real courage comes in, are you willing to face yourself? Are you willing to question the own narratives that you're running your life off of?
And some people, not some, most people don't.
Absolutely.
I've been doing this my whole life, and I have received worldly success from it. I'm okay keeping this up for the rest of my life.
And then my question would be, how fulfilled are you? How happy are you?
Exactly.
Define success. Is it looking in this one direction, or does it encompass your entire life? And to me, you encompass your entire life. So to me, you can't count success as one particular physical result. It is a full-rounded experience of fulfillment. And this is why we hear countless stories of, I made it to the top, I stepped on everybody, I climbed all the way there, I sacrificed everything, I filled up my bank account, I did all the vacations, and I was still lost. So I gave it all up and I climbed to the top of a mountain and I've never been happier with nothing, right? So we hear those stories all the time. I just gave myself chills saying that. That's weird. I'm guessing that somebody out there needed to hear that or resonates with it. But when we can shift that around and we can say, what if success looks like how I treated myself or the one who's in front of me today? What if success is not losing compassion for myself or those who cross my path? What if success is remembering that I am worthy and valuable even if life doesn't show me that in the way that I'm expecting to see it? Then we start to be able to see things, like have the eyes to see and have the ears to hear what lies beyond the physical. And you said something key earlier that could easily be overlooked. It's not just that we take it in, it's also that we admit it out. So how we choose to be is a driving pivotal force. And like the change that we want to see in the world, that is why we have to be it. It's not just that you get inundated with all this garbage, so figure out how to balance yourself. No, you have the ability to balance yourself, which is why you're inundated with all the garbage. It's being sent to you because you're the chosen one and you can be responsible with it. And when you can commit to doing no harm to yourself or others, regardless of what life brings you, you become so powerful. You become absolutely unstoppable. And it seems like, well, no, the powerful one is the one who can like crush anything along the way. Is it? Or do we know that there's power within that resilience, within that knowingness within yourself? And we can just flip that paradigm. We can say, you know what? It's not just about everything that's coming into me. It also matters, what am I putting back out into the world? How am I taking this energy in through my chakra systems, in through my energy centers of the body, processing it, and then bringing it back out through the physical, which is the way that I look at it. We have our experience. If you're familiar with the chakra systems, it's just the energy centers of the body in which govern different aspects of how we experience this physical world, how we experience our physical self and the world around us. So as this nothingness of energy, this ether, this plasma, this air, this seemingly nothingness that is around us, as we take in all those unseen frequencies and bring them into our energy field, we are designed like a liver. We're like the liver of the planet, of the human collective consciousness. We take that energy in. We're able to cycle it, to process it. It doesn't mean that it has to get stuck. That's where the problem is. If it gets stuck in an unbalanced energy center, then you're going to have, it's like having bad coding in the computer, right? It's going to take that coded language and it's going to put it over into a certain category. And then that's going to determine how you're going to experience that person, how you're going to react, what kind of feedback are you going to give back to life. When you realize that you have the power to transmute that energy and you have the conscious choice, much like some of the greatest spiritual examples that we can point to do and are known for doing, you take that and you decide who you're going to be on the other side. I mean, that pretty much would sum it all up. All this stuff that we are dealing with this relationship conflict, if we stop abandoning ourselves, at the sacrifice of making things easier in the physical, of the sacrifice of not hurting somebody's feeling. If you lead with compassion and don't abandon yourself. And sometimes that lack of abandonment or that commitment to not abandoning yourself, maybe it doesn't even get demonstrated on the outside. This is where the whole, so many of what is popular in the field of people who like to have these conversations only get us to a point. They don't get us all the way there. And I think people that have been on this path for a while, that have hit their kind of sticking point, they know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to go beyond it. You have to go beyond being the one who's enlightened or the one who's right. It's not about putting it out there for that outside validation. It's about cultivating that within yourself so that you don't abandon yourself. And in my commitment to not abandon myself, it means I have to say no thank you to some of the things that are offered my way. If I just say, okay, I'll take it because I don't want to make you feel bad, I'm sacrificing what I need in order to be supported. But if I recognize the fact that the only reason you're offering me something is because you want to offer me support, and by my refusal, it can seem like I'm rejecting you. If I can just say, I so appreciate your kindness in thinking of me. The fact that you want to give to me, I'm blessed and I'm honored to receive that. Unfortunately, if I partake in this, it's going to bring my energy down. So I'm going to pass on it, or maybe we can find an alternative or someone else that we can pass it along to. Right? Then it becomes a totally different thing than I'm going to let them down or I'm committed to saying yes to things. This is what we commonly talk about as like boundaries and, having healthy relationships and getting yourself out of toxic situations. If you're able to take in that bigger picture, if you're able to remember the who you are and who it is that you are inside and extend that not just to where it's acknowledged from other people, but where you don't even need it acknowledged to other people because you know it, then you can extend it to others and watch how it is immediately reflected back to you. And if not immediately, like a direct, you will turn from that and you will be presented with it being reflected back to you. That's been my experience 100% of the time. Again, I forgot what your question was, so I hope that answered it.
So you might have touched on this, but if you can state it plainly, as a holistic healer, how do you define holistic health? And what are some common misconceptions that people have? Absolutely. So I named my business Holistic Restoration, again, back in 2026 when I first started it. And I thought it was like the best thing to encompass what the intention of what I wanted my practice to be about. And I quickly realized that not everybody's familiar with the word holistic or what that means. And what it means is it's relating to the whole. It's relating to an individual as being a whole and complete as is. So not needing something to be added to it, but whole and complete within itself. So if you think about holistic approach to healing, we're talking about a mind, body, spirit. We're talking about addressing the physical and the non-physical aspects of that person. So typically that would look like what kind of nutritional support that person is getting, how that person's moving their body, the physical aspects, but also how is that person thinking? How is that person processing things mentally and emotionally, internally? And what's that narrative, that story that you're operating by, that silent story that's running and influencing all the decisions that you make? What is going on there? Now, we could take it even as further as incorporating more divinatory aspects like your numerology or your astrology and that kind of thing as well. But basically, when I think about holistic, I'm talking body, mind, spirit. The fact that you have a physical self, the fact that you have got an energetic self, and you have something beyond you that lives through you, regardless if you say, hey, I want to do tomorrow or not. If you open your eyes and you wake up, that part of you that works automatically that you don't have that direct kind of control over, that would be, and a great way to say the spirit, it's just your sense of self, the sense of who you are. So your physical self, your mental and emotional self, and then that sense of who you are. And in true holistic approach, that looking at that system together as being whole and complete, meaning you have the divine imprint, the knowledge, the wisdom, the instructions within you for everything that you need in this life. It would be the same thing as like looking at an acorn that grows into an oak tree. We don't have to tell that acorn, like, I know you're small now, but one day you're going to be so big. And if you could just see yourself as a big tree, one day you'll become that big tree. We don't have to say that to our acorns. They just know exactly what to do because they have a divine blueprint inside of them, an innate intelligence, a spark of life. They're born in that acorn is
the oak tree and everything that it needs in order to make that oak tree is there in that acorn. So what that acorn needs is the right environment, the right physical supportive environment for it to do what it naturally was designed to do. And I think about holistic in that same way. I look at every person who came to my table. This was another pivotal shift in my practice when I stopped looking at people as having problems that they're coming in for me to fix, and me doing the healing and me doing the work and me doing the movement and me getting things into balance, to people are whole and complete as is. They don't need to be told how to balance. They need to remember how to balance. I didn't need to be told how to eat. I needed to remember how to allow my own intelligence to make my food decisions for me. And if I got so much mental chatter up here about what I look like in the mirror, or who said to me about what, or what that means about what, I'm not going to hear the little voice inside that says, get the salad. It's going to feed you the rest of the time, right? You're not going to hear that. You're going to override it. So in holistic, I'm looking at you as whole and complete. I look at you as body, mind, spirit. I look at you as having full intelligence. I look at my job as holding that space for you to come into the fullness and to bring forth the restoration that is an innate design inside of you if you're given the right supportive environment. Now, the most common misperception that I see with people whenever they see the word holistic would be like thinking that it's like a spiritual thing, like it's religious, like there's a specific religious ascription that goes along with it. I also see it commonly used in practices that aren't truly holistic. They're actually integrative. So if you see a massage therapist that has a physical therapist that has a chiropractor and they're saying they're a holistic practice, that does not mean that they're considering the mind and the spirit. It just means they're bringing an integrative whole body approach. So they're looking at holistic as we're bringing a holistic approach because we're hitting all the angles of your physical self, not just the muscles, not just the nervous system, right? So a lot of practices can actually be integrative instead of holistic. So if you see something that's holistic, you might want to inquire, just find out like what their philosophy is, find out what their approach is, see what kind of modalities they have. And not to say that you couldn't have a massage therapist, a physical therapist, and a chiropractor have a very holistic practice. They absolutely could. But there'll probably be something else that's backing that beyond just those more physical kind of credentials, if you will. And I would say the top misperceptions that I see when it comes to holistic is that people believe that holistic means not evidence-based.
Really? Wow.
Yes, absolutely. It's pretty surprising because I'll say, oh, I do, holistic healing work. I do energy work. And they'll say, I rather stick to things that are more evidence-based for my care. And to me, that just says you've never looked at it because there's tons of evidence that what these more holistic approaches are extremely effective. I mean, they go back 5,000 years. It's the very foundation that all of our more traditional Western medical system was derived from. This is where it all goes back to. This is every culture around the world, indigenous tribes, all had some element of sound healing, every single one of them. So we're not talking about non-evidence-based. What you do find a lack of is like sound healing, for example. Whenever I got into tuning forks and sound healing and looking at the different frequencies, some of the research that I did discovered that there's not a lot of research. There's no clinical papers that are out there that show it. And that doesn't mean that nobody's ever come across this information. It just means that those papers have never made it to be published. Who knows if anybody's tried, if they just haven't taken the time, or if somebody has tried and they have taken the time. But the interesting thing about sound healing itself, it's so extremely subjective. Because we're not dealing with like a physical thing that can be replicated. There's only one you. And even if we get somebody who has the same physical demographics as you do and put them next to you, how they experience the sound is going to be based on their frequency that they're currently holding, which will partly show up in how they physically appear, but not only. So it's such a subjective thing. It's hard to pin down into the clinical. So for me, I think it would be more worthwhile to experience it for yourself and decide if there's evidence that's there, or look to see the evidence that is provided, because there's plenty of documentation. I mean, Reiki is one of the most popular forms of energy healing that is out there. It's probably, if anybody's at all heard of energy healing, Reiki's probably what they have heard of. Reiki's been incorporated into a lot of medical facilities now. A lot of hospitals use Reiki for cancer patients, for surgery recovery. I mean, it's definitely out there. So there's plenty of evidence that's out there for those kind of things. So don't just think because it's holistic that it's spiritual or religious, or that it is like affiliated with some specific denomination, or that it is not evidence-based. Another thing that I see very often is that it's seen as like woo-woo or new age, or something that, just you can't take serious. Like, for example, I had a client, she was dealing with a bone bruise on her foot, and she's like in her early 80s. And anybody who's at all aware of the body, there's only so much massage that you can do for a bone bruise, because it's something you have to give it time to heal, and bones heal very slowly. So I used a 32 hertz tuning fork on her because it's known, evidence-based, scientifically proven to help with bone healing. And the next day she reached out to me. I mean, this has been bothering her for months, and she's told by her doctor it's a bone bruise. You just got to give it time. The very next day she reached out to me and she said, it feels better. And then a month later she came to see me. She said, it still feels better, but I can't tell people what you did to me. I can't tell them that you put a fork on me and then it was better. They're going to think that I'm crazy. Mm-hmm. And that's what we deal with. That's what we run into a lot. It's not evidence-based, it's woo-woo, it's new age, or you're starting to like play around in some religious realm that you shouldn't be going into. When to me, it's about coming into a fuller awareness of your whole beingness, and not just coming into that awareness, but honoring it and supporting it. I don't know. I just soften every time that I think about it, because it just brings such a feeling of ease and relief, and just like a sigh, like everything's going to be okay whenever I start talking and going in that direction. And I just see it over and over again in people, that when they tap into this way of thinking and being, it becomes life-changing for them. And we get the choice. We get the choice on what narrative we're going to run our life by. And so I think this is a worthwhile one to come into. But if you run into those misperceptions, if you're like, oh, that's some religious thing that I don't think that lines up with how I was raised in my religious beliefs. True energetic work has no conflict with anybody's religious beliefs, and most religious beliefs will just support and enhance what it is that you're doing. So those that are already on a faith walk or a spiritual walk usually just find more integrated fulfillment in an actual like living their faith, instead of just walking around and talking about it, or carrying a concept with you. And that's how I see holistic work in general, is that it's about getting to the true root cause. It's facing the whole, when you bring in the whole story, then you can get to the underlying imbalance, instead of just looking to manage the symptoms, which is more of where our Western model comes into play, and has become just the way that our society dictates health and views health. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Where the more energetic way of going about it is, if you clear it up in the energetic, then it never comes into the physical.
Right.
That sounds more like the way that I want to go. Why do I want to fight something once it's here? Why wouldn't I look to clear and balance it as it's coming in? And then the things that we can't control, the 5G towers, the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, all that stuff that's going through all of it carries a frequency. All of it has an impact on our health and our well-being. All of it has an impact on the way that we think and how we feel. And it's all done on these subtle levels. And one could say too, maybe that's why the conversation isn't in the forefront, because if we were aware of all this unseen stuff, that every time we turn on the microwave, what we're doing, not only to ourselves, but to the food that we put into it, we're completely changing the structure of it to where it becomes something that is not vital and life-giving. Then we would make drastic changes in the way that we live. And we'd probably go back to a lot of indigenous ways, and a lot of modern society would probably collapse, perhaps, or maybe we can integrate it. Maybe we can find a way to bring that balance where we can feel the power of the unseen, but then honor it through what we do in the physical. I think that would be a wonderful way to live. And a lot of people really believe that that's where we're headed to. And that's why society is breaking down as much as it is. Just throwing it out there, not saying whatever. I'm just saying that I know that this is part of the conversation that's out there, that the tide has shifted and that it's time for the power to come back to the people and into the hands of the healers. And I think that anybody who is really committed to doing healing work, it's worthwhile to take that consideration that maybe we're not the ones that are doing anything other than clearing up our own imbalances and then holding space for other people to find that same resonance within themselves. Again, I can't remember the original question, but
I think it all boils down to convenience and the fear of being judged. I'm sure people know that when you drink water out of a plastic water bottle, there's microplastics in the water. I'm sure people know that when they cook their food in the microwave, there's waves that are going into your food that are not only killing the food, but also hurting you. But they still do it because it's convenient to do it that way. It's quick. And then also the fear of being judged. Yes. Going back to the 80-year-old client example, she doesn't want to bring this information to her network who she knows they believed in what she probably once believed. And she doesn't want to be viewed as an outcast. It's all about perception and convenience. And that's what keeps... And if that is proliferated across a nation, across the world, you are forcing people to assimilate into a mindset, into an energetic or a certain level of frequency that only benefits the people who are monetizing and controlling you. So,
yeah, absolutely. And the core thing, again, I think this is an easy part to overlook that I think needs to be highlighted. We know all this, but we do what's convenient.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this is why self-love and realizing how much you matter is the hinge-pin to bring this all together. Because when you treat yourself like somebody who matters, if you treat yourself like you were given the gift of life today to go out and make some powerful change happen in the world, because if you hadn't noticed yet, God's work isn't done by God, it's done by people. It's done through people. Because we're here and this physical experience is what we do here. So if we can step into that consideration, that this breath that moves through us is something that's sacred. It's something I can't even explain. But it's the very essence of what is making all of this happen. And if we can say, I was important enough to give breath to, then I must matter. I must be here for a reason. And if I matter and I'm here for a reason, the only way that I'm ever going to live into that purpose is if I support myself with the right environment. So not only by supporting myself with the right environment, by what I give my attention to, but the things that I choose to consume. By doing that, not only do I give myself a better experience, but then by me being in a state of thriving, I have more of myself to give to others. Right. That's how much I matter. Because if I can at all say, well, you matter, you're important, but I can sacrifice myself. Like I see parents do this sometimes, like I see it go both ways, interestingly enough, with parents. I'm going to give my kids this healthy meal, but then I'm just going to eat this quick, ready to eat garbage because they're growing and it matters, but I'm so stuck in my ways that I'm just going to go with what's convenient, right? If you can realize treat yourself like someone that you love, like someone who matters. I would do pretty much anything to make sure that my daughter is taken care of. Why would I not do that for myself first and foremost, to make sure that I do whatever I can for my daughter to be taken care of? If you knew how much it mattered that you're choosing convenience, you're choosing self-sacrifice versus honoring yourself. And that in that self-sacrifice, you are sacrificing what you are giving to someone else, then not only are you kind of like giving the middle finger to yourself, but you're doing it to all the people that you say that you love. You're not living in alignment. Alignment is when your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions all are congruent. That's the goal. That's where we experience that flow state, or that's what I would say, where I experience that flow state. When what I'm thinking and what I'm saying and what I'm doing lines up. And that's what I feel like this year has like shown me. It's like, Crissy, you say a lot and you do a lot, but there's some things you've been saying that you haven't been doing that now is the time to do. And part of it's bringing this conversation to the table because I worry about, I have that same opportunity. Let's put it that way. I get the same opportunity to judge myself. I get the same opportunity to choose fear over honoring this message and this gift of mine. I don't know why I can't stop myself from talking about this, but I can't stop myself from talking about this. And when I think about stopping myself from talking about it and I get too much in the judgment, then I definitely could. I could think, oh, somebody's going to hear this and they're going to see this and they're going to think this or they're going to think that. That is the very definition of making it all about yourself. And that's part of the things that gets entrepreneurs like stuck in their path because they're making it all about them. And they're like, well, I'm not making it all about me. It's all about the person that I'm helping. But you're only showing up when you feel like it. You're only making the offer whenever you're in the mood for it. You're only doing and saying what you're worried and you're catering to your own. You're making it all about you. What if you made it all about others? So I do this teetering back and forth. On the days that I can't get up and do it for Crissy, I get up and I do it for John. I get up and do it for my daughter. I get up and do it for everybody who's watching me. Not because I worry about their judgment, but because if nobody else shows them a different way to be, how will they ever get the opportunity? Because all that we're doing is replicating what we saw. I never saw somebody have these conversations. I never heard somebody move in this way. But yet I developed all these issues that people were demonstrating and also energetically carrying with them. I mean, if you really want to get into it, the egg and the sperm that came together to create me were inside of my parents' mothers whenever they were carrying them inside of them. If you want to know how things go generationally, what if it's not the DNA? What if the DNA shows you where the energetics aligned? What if it's a replication of the habits and the not valuing yourself that's causing the dis-ease in your life or in your family line? And what if you're not destined to live into that? What if a frequency like 528 could actually restructure your DNA to what it actually is meant to be so that you thrive instead of replicate the patterns because you're taking energetic data in and you're processing it through the same misconceptions and then bringing them back out as the same dis-ease and imbalances in your life? What if that's what's happening?
Wow. So what does the standard Western approach miss that when it comes to treating our body like an interconnected system?
It's really interesting because like in our Western world, we look at science to back things up, but science can prove everything that I've said so far. And then we have the Western world, which seems to leave out all of this conversation because of the sake of science and that you see the conflict that's there in itself. So we'll just go ahead and put that one out there as a silent answer to the question and add to it and saying that the Western world doesn't consider all of you.
Well, I was more so asking, what does the standard Western approach miss with regards to holistic health? Because I believe you said that you got these beads or these shells from Africa. Mm-hmm. So have you noticed like a different trend when it comes to holistic health being practiced overseas versus holistic health being practiced in the West?
So I'm definitely more familiar with what happens here. So let me speak to it from this consideration or perspective. Traditional Thai medicine theory is something that I've recently come about in the last year. Now, mind you, I've had my own practice for 20 years. I was into natural healing before starting my practice. So we'd say for a good 25, 26 years now, I have been actively and relentlessly pursuing and seeking information and experiences within this realm. Only within the last year did I come across traditional Thai medicine theory, and it pretty much validated everything that I had come into just from my own experience, independent from what other resources said. And I'm going to point to it as a great example as to what the Western model is missing. So in traditional Thai medicine theory, the body has 3 different stages of disease. In stage 1, your body actually craves the remedy, that which will bring your body back into balance. So if you think about how, like, if you feel yourself being like, man, I kind of feel like I should go for a walk, but I'm so tired right now. but a walk would be good. But I am tired. It's been a long day. Go for the walk. That little inkling, that little nudge of maybe I'll have a salad instead of the pasta. Listen to that. If you can recognize that there's a whisper inside of you of a better option, that is your body's first signal that there's an imbalance that you can rectify. Now, most of us move past that. Most of us are like, it's been a long day and this show's coming on next, so I'll just watch this instead, right? Then your body moves into the second phase. The second phase, also something you can pay attention to, your body begins to crave that which feeds the imbalance. So you shift from thinking, man, that salad would be good or that walk would be nice into, I'm going to go get the Cheetos even though I'm not hungry. And you find yourself in that mindless doing the thing. I'm going to stay up later even though I need to be going to bed early. You notice how like you start to realize I should be going to bed early, but you put it off until all of a sudden you're like, I should be going to bed early, but I'm so awake now. I'm not even tired because you've shifted yourself into living out a balance. So stage 1, your body craves the remedy. Stage 2, you crave what feeds the imbalance. And when those two get overlooked or left unchecked, you move into phase 3, which is the body starts to display symptoms that cause you disruption. Now let's think about the Western approach. What they're missing is phase 1 and phase 2 of that equation. They are there to support phase 3. So to me, that's what they're missing. Great for accidents and injuries, great at being collaborative support, great for tests and analyzing things, but only applicable once you bypass the first 2 stages of disease in the body, in which all of this can help to balance, therefore rendering the other only valid and necessary for accidents and injuries. That would be what I think is missing.
So you said that you came across Thai medicine in the last year.
Yes.
So what motivated you to seek? Did you seek that out, or did that seek you? How did that happen?
It was an interesting serendipitous kind of situation in which years prior, I would say probably around like 2019, 2020, 2021 is where I'm like, you know what, this is all just energy. By that point, I had shifted enough. Like in 2017, I had lost 60 pounds within that year without even changing dieting, exercise, none of it. I just watched my body shift. I watched how after years of laying down an energetic realignment with myself, all the physical was starting to shift. So it changed by quieting my mind down. Some of the things that used to freak me out and worry me, I had a better relationship with. Then all of a sudden, my body balanced. Then all of a sudden, my finances balanced. Now all of a sudden, my relationships balanced. Like everything in the physical is shifting to align with the shift that I have inside myself. And I'm not going to lose your question. So now I am, because I said that out loud. Oh my gosh. See how this works? As soon as the ego steps in, it's like, oh, we'll show you what you know. Remind me again so I know where I was taking this.
How did you come?
Okay. How did I come to this?
Yeah. No problem. Take your time.
Okay. I had been convinced enough that everything was happening in the energetics. And I was like, sound healing is going to be the next thing that I get into, because why would I take my time learning other things? Again, why am I going to take my time learning how to undo the physical when I could take my time learning how to balance the non-physical before the physical even becomes an issue? So it's like everything comes down to frequency and vibration. We can look at it again through the Western lens, through the scientific lens. Everything is a bunch of molecules and atoms vibrating at different frequencies, and based on how dense they are, how fast they're moving or how slow they're moving, depends on if we get things in a physical form or if we don't, right? We explain this everywhere. And I was really certain. I was like, I feel like I got this sneaky suspicion. Nobody's validating me. No one's telling me that I'm right. I just feel certain that it all comes down to energy and vibration. So sound healing seems to make sense to me. Let me learn a little bit about that. So I got a sound healing certification class. I was really drawn to the crystal bowls to begin with because they're just so lovely and so powerful. They're just, They just draw you straight in. But what I found that I really enjoyed working with was the tuning forks, and specifically the weighted tuning forks, because they work more on the overtones. So instead of having so much of an audible experience, like whenever you think about striking a tuning fork and hearing the ringing sound that comes from it, these speak more in vibration. So I was able to use the frequencies more locally on the body and hold them to the body to transfer that vibrational sound that is happening. It's a sound, it's just not on an audible level that we can perceive with our human ears, but your skin can hear it. Your bones can hear it. Your muscles can hear it. They don't speak English. They don't need tone the way that our ears do. They speak vibration. So I was really drawn to working with tuning forks and then seeing how people would react to them, seeing how people would shift, the changes that would happen, and also seeing that it wasn't a universal thing. I can't just replicate and do the same sequence on every single person and get the same result. So it was really an interesting exploration for me because I had to stay detached. I can't say this is a solid thing. This is a vibrational thing. Now let's see what happens. So I knew that this was going to be the path for me. And I also found that there wasn't a lot of the class was good and it gave me a lot of basic information, but I just wanted more. I wanted to better understand the frequencies. I wanted to better understand the hertz. But I had to practice to tend to and, habits that I'm in. And I just kept practicing the way that I'm practicing and incorporating in the tuning forks. And then it was time for my massage license to be renewed. And every time that my massage license is up for renewal, I scour all the classes that are possible, looking for something that piques my interest. And I've always been drawn to the more of the energetics or the, more of like nutritional therapy and how it affects the body and healing, or holistic communication or Ayurvedic practices. And I found this one advertisement for this modality called Toksen, Toksen, 2 separate words. And it originates from the indigenous spirit doctors of the northern Thailand region. And how it was described in the class write-up, it was that it is a form of vibrational medicine. Come learn this form of vibrational medicine. And I was like, oh, vibration. That's like frequency. That's like sound healing. That sounds of interest to me. I'm curious. I got to tick off the hours anyway. I'm going to be sitting in a class. Let me go see what this is. Now, interestingly enough, it said that it used a hammer, a mallet, and a wooden peg, and that there was like tapping involved. And I'm like, I'm kind of like a hands-on therapist. Like I've been in massage for 20 years and I still only work with my hands. I don't use tools other than like tuning forks and sound healing stuff because I get so much information from my hands. They've just told me so much that I've never really wanted to work with tools. I'm also very energetically sensitive, which means I'm sound sensitive. So like the thought of hearing, why would I want to do this when I can do this? And flow. And that to me is what, I love that about massage. It's like a dance. It's so wonderful. But the vibration interests me. And it came with a free set of tools. So I was like, well, I'll go take this class. I'll have this little thing that I can take home with me. And we'll just see what happens from there. And it completely changed. I won't say changed my life, but it instantly spoke to me as a necessary part of my practice. And it was, again, this originated from spirit doctors in the indigenous people of the specific region in northern Thailand. And again, dates back over 5,000 years. And I was like, once I got that hammer, the mallet, and the chisel in my hand, I was like, I feel like I've done this before, even though I'm new to it, because I'm already attuned to the energy. I'm already attuned to the sensitivity. I already get the energetic side of the physical application that this is intermingling with. And I just took right to it. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to be doing this modality, I need to better understand it. Where does it come from? Traditional Thai medicine theory. And I was like, what is traditional Thai medicine theory? I have been actively pursuing this for 25 years, and I've never heard traditional Thai. I just figured traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine from China, Asia, and then you have Ayurveda that comes from India. And I was like, that's it. And then we had the Western medicine. No, there was traditional Thai medicine theory, and I hadn't heard about it because it was illegal to practice until the 1980s. and they only translate it over. They have volumes of text, just like traditional Chinese medicine, just like Ayurveda. If anybody's familiar with the Ayurvedic history, volumes of information that have gotten destroyed over time and over history, and only parts of it remain. And those parts is what gave birth to yoga, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, all the Western medicine that we know to this day, all originated from Ayurveda. But yet here's this traditional Thai medicine theory that started or originated at or around the same time. Who's to say which comes first? But I will say this, that there's a spiritual component to traditional Thai medicine that I don't see as strongly prevalent in Chinese medicine or in Ayurveda, although they have some elemental theory, there's some overlapping. But coming into that system, it just validated all the work that I was doing. It showed that there was legitimacy behind what it was that I was doing. And it also showed that there could be a reverence to healthcare that goes beyond dissecting things and just treating them in the physical 3D. And it seems as if, from just the perspective that I've taken so far, and I welcome anybody to reach out if you know more about this and want to have chats about it, because I would love to learn more. There's only like 3 of all the multi-volumes of texts that have been translated into English from traditional Thai medicine theory. And of those, 2 of them are only portions of the book. So there's very little in English to study or to learn from it. And I found that to be pretty interesting and telling, but it also validates everything else. And I think it could be very easily argued that Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine actually sprung forth out of the Thai practices, because in true Thai practices, the person who does it doesn't get the credit. The credit's given to source. The credit's given to the teachers who taught the one who's doing it. So there's no egoic involvement. And when there's no egoic involvement, it's not as easy to monetize and capitalize on. And it's also easy to leave out of the equation that there's a lot of proactive support that one can give themselves before the rest falls into even being necessary. And it'd be an interesting consideration to see the world shift in that way, where we actually consider the body and honor it first and foremost, and then see what we need to do to support it whenever the unexpected things happen.
Very interesting that you say that, because even in religious texts, it states, treat your body as a temple. And it's not just food. It's not just food.
You got it.
It can also be outside influences as well, too.
Yeah.
Because those outside influences will influence your temple, which will inevitably influence you.
You got it. You got it. Again, think about how you act whenever your grandma's around, or whenever you step into church, or whenever you're at like a formal something. There's a different respect that we bring. What if we brought that to ourselves all the time? And it's pretty curious whenever you take a step back and you look at society. Like, self-love is a pretty radical act. Like, everything in society, even starting in like kindergarten, where you're like separated from who you are and put into this system of thinking about the world and about yourself, and you're separated from what it is that's within you and told like you got to gain this from the outside. That separation starts so young, it starts so early, it's so prevalent. There's not a lot of example of it. And it's funny because, again, like how I said that anybody who has like a faith walk that they're already doing, the approach that I offer for healing and for doing business, just living life in general, usually lines up really deeply with that. It just is another way to embody it, because I think a lot of those examples are like people putting to work these concepts and these ideas. Yeah, I'll just leave it with that thought.
Curious, do you know the average age in Thailand? Or no, not the average age.
I don't.
Death.
I don't know any of those.
Life expectancy. I don't know why it took me so long.
No, it's okay. I don't know any of those statistics. I do think it's interesting, the reputation that Thailand has, because we don't think about it as a place of like a spiritual mecca. At least that's not like the first thought that I have, like the birthplace of true healing. I think about it as, things that are rumored to happen there, and more as like like a place that you can go and bum around, instead of something that's like really to be reverent. But again, that echoes back over to ourselves. Like the whole idea of self-love and tending to yourself and taking care of yourself and doing it beyond to change yourself. What if instead of pursuing things to change anything, you pursue everything just to honor them? And I realized like the best way to honor the gifts and the calling that I have on my heart is to risk people judging me. So it took me really learning who I am and who I'm not, in order to be able to have a level of certainty and knowingness within myself. And not to say that that doesn't get shook on a regular basis too. It's an ongoing opportunity, but that's the thing about this 3D world. You don't just get some of it, you get all of it. So when we say, I want this great, amazing life of fulfillment, guess what you get to go with that? All the misery and suffering that makes the fulfillment fulfilling, because you get the contrast. You don't just get to pick and choose, oh, I get all the rewards at the end. Oh, if you want the rewards in the end, sweetheart, you're going to go through all the crap that goes along the way. And guess what happens when you get that reward? You still get the opportunity to choose who and how you're going to be and how you're going to feel about it all. We just haven't been told that we're choosing how we feel. We're running off of default reactiveness because our nervous systems aren't settled, because we're in a state of distress and survival, because all of society is saying, oh my gosh, you're late and wrong and you're never going to make it in some form or fashion everywhere we look. Or we might not make it. Let's hope for the best, but we might not. Just have an ice cream instead. Have a beer, just feel good. Challenge yourself not to sacrifice a fulfilling life experience for momentary, fleeting sensations. Like when I realized like that cake that I referenced earlier was just a momentary taste sensation that lasts seconds, maybe minutes. But for a lot of us, come on, whenever we got a treat in front of us, we're like trying to get it in as quickly as possible. We don't even think about savoring it. We don't even remember. We're like, oh, I ate the last one. I thought I still had one. It's wild how disconnected we are and what we sacrifice for a momentary taste sensation. Well, when I correlated the fact that momentary taste sensation, let's say it was even 5 minutes, we took our time with that slice of cheesecake, right? All that wonderful on the tongue, you swallow it down, you got that memory, now it's gone, right? And it instantly kicks in a 36-hour cycle of working through your system. So I realized I was trading a 5-minute momentary taste sensation for 36 hours of challenged thinking in my life. What am I doing? 5 minutes or 36 hours apiece. I started choosing the 36 hours apiece. And it made the choice that supported that 36-hour apiece look way more enticing than a momentary taste sensation. And when you figure out how to make those moments taste as good as the artificial fake ones that are lying to your system and tricking you into thinking that you like it, as it really wreaks havoc on your system the rest of the time, it just becomes a no-brainer. And it's interesting because you could put a pile of sugar in front of somebody. Most people, I know some people might be an exception to this rule, but most people that you and I hang out with, I'm assuming, you could put a pile of sugar or you could put a pile of heroin in front of them and say, help yourself. They would not think twice about dipping into the sugar. And they wouldn't think twice about not touching the heroin because they don't self-identify as someone who would do that and partake in that. But yet the addictiveness, the impact that it can have on your body over time, they both are going to deteriorate you 100%. But we self-identify as someone who would do one or the other. So it's in part what's presented in front of us, but it's more so how we self-identify. They do the same thing. They're going to wreak the same havoc. We just make one more socially acceptable than the other. Or we could say alcohol and any other drug. People would choose one over the other, even though they do the same detrimental effects. It comes down to how you self-identify, and it comes down to understanding, or what are you getting in exchange? Like, what's the payoff for what it is that you're investing in? Your time, your money, your energy. We've just been tricked into thinking, oh, it's just our money that we spend. No, it's your energy. Sometimes it's better to pay the $20 and save yourself the 20 days of work. And sometimes it's better to just buckle down and do the work, right? Again, I can't remember what started that thought, but edit out all of that, James, whenever I say I can't remember what I was saying. Thank you.
Crissy, you're gifted. This is powerful.
Thank you.
Everything you're saying is right. I mean, for me personally, I'm an asthmatic.
Okay.
I don't like to say I am because I know that that's declaration. But I would say this year, I started changing my diet significantly. I was just tired of the medications. Like whenever I would exert myself anything over normal. Like if I were to jog versus walk, or I were to go harder in the gym versus going light in the gym, there would always be like, wheezing or some type of tightness in my chest. And I said, you know what? I can keep doing this, the inhaler, nebulizer, for the rest of my life, or I can change something about me. And I kid you not, I did just that. I started changing my diet. Then I started realizing dairy, cheese, started researching the lymphatic system and how that clogs your lymphatic system, and it tightens your breathing pathways. It takes more energy to digest something that is thick and has all of those, hormones and all of that, those extra proteins and lipids.
Teach them. Yep.
And it's harder and it's more strenuous on the body.
You got it.
And now, I haven't used my rescue inhaler, my nebulizer in months. It's like I'm a brand new person.
You gave yourself a chance.
And that goes to, thank you. And I just also want to say, the first half of our life, we are told how to live. We are told to go to school. We're told A's are great, B's and C's are terrible. Like you talked about that separation. But once we reach adulthood, that's when we need to take the onus of our own life. And you have two types of people. You have person A who says, I'm just going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into this 3D, chase worldly success.
I know who I am. I'm not changing for anybody.
Right, yes.
Toxic people get away from me.
Exactly.
And I'm not meaning anything by the hand movements. It's just what happens. It's just what happens whenever I get into that energy. That's what I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I went to this school. I got this job. I'm receiving things. And then you have the person or the people who said, you know what, this has been told to me, but I want to spend some years figuring out life and coming to a conclusion within myself internally if I really truly believe this to be true for me, not because it was told to me. And that's just a different vibration, frequency, level of thinking. And it just opens your, like you talked about, you're going to go, whenever you're changing something about yourself, there's going to be a crash. There's going to be some type of deterioration in your life before you start to, excel and grow forward. But that's the thing. We're scared about that. We're scared of the temporary, my life's falling apart. I'm going back on everything I learned, everything I was told to me. What's happening? Oh my gosh, I am now, in the eyes of my friends, small, worthless. But you have to get over that hump and allow, like you talked about, it takes time for, you said, before it transpires in the physical realm, the energetic, spiritual realm, it's already working, but it's like lagging. It's just like lagging.
All of this physicality, it's all old news.
It's old news.
Present moment, old news.
Yes.
What happens next, it's part of the shutting off of what's already been put into the physical, and it must change and transmute. Again, we go back to physics. Y'all, evidence-based needing people. Energy is not created nor destroyed.
It can only be transferred.
You got it. That's it. So when you, and this would be like the perfect thing, if anybody is looking for like, what's that one thing that I can do? Because, I hear everything that you're saying and now I want to overhaul my whole life, but that's like been the problem. Every time I go to overhaul my whole life, nothing changes because I get overwhelmed and I just get stopped back into the routine. So what if you don't have to change anything? What if the best thing you can do is start to ask that very thing? What if? What if? What if my body could balance itself by changing how I eat and could bring itself into balance so I don't need inhalers? I can always go back to inhalers if this doesn't work.
Absolutely.
I can always go back to it.
That's always what I thought too.
Exactly. You can always go back to it. But what if? If you give yourself the courtesy, the grace, the space, the opportunity to just
try.
Explore.
Yes. Explore.
Get curious. I say change up uncertainty for curiosity. Instead of getting furious, get curious. That's what I would tell men, because men's curiosity turns to anger. Women's curiosity turns to, oh no, it's all going wrong, right? We break down, we lose ourselves. When you find yourself getting furious, when you find yourself getting angry, instead get curious. Get curious. Why? And what is possible? What if just changing how I treat myself in the day? What if just starting to acknowledge myself first when I wake up in the morning? What if just saying, I love you, Crissy. Good morning. Welcome to the day again. Let's see how this goes. What if at night before I went to bed, I put a hand on my heart and said, I love you, Crissy. Thank you for everything that you did today. I hope you sleep well. What if that's all that we change? And what if that one change starts a ripple effect that takes over your entire life?
Right.
With every success, your life of suffering gets destroyed. With every evolution and you gaining what you want, it is at the sacrifice of the life that you used to have.
Yes.
So destruction and creation is the same exact process.
Yes.
And what changes is, again, the cocaine or the heroin, or the sugar or the heroin. It all comes down to how you self-identify. I self-identified as someone who will go get a job if this doesn't work out. So let me just go see what happens. I also self-identified as someone who wouldn't let myself get to the point of detriment that I would be like living on the streets and at the destitute of my family, right? I think a little differently now that I have my husband and daughter to consider, especially in the financial providing department, but just having them in my life, it's so different. Like Crissy can sacrifice everything and she can make it through. And that's kind of part of the problem. The people who are doing or wanting to make the most good in the world are currently suffering so great because they're taking on everything and they're relying on their resilience, their ability to go through hard things and still keep going. When we need to learn how to turn all that compassion and support that we're pouring onto others at our own sacrifice, how do we pour that into ourselves? And what if just making that simple change? What if you don't even have to? What if just acknowledging the fact that you desire for something to be different is a sign that one day it is destined to be, which is why you have the desire to begin with? It is calling you home. And what if that wrong choice that you made because you didn't listen to your intuition was your intuition leading your ego to exactly what it needed to face that you egoically would have never chosen? So I had to trick you by dangling something to make you think that that's the way that you want to go so that you would realize, oh my gosh, I'm chasing dangly things when I'm the best thing in the world. Making that shift, being able to just open the door of possibility. I mean, that is the very definition of what you want to know how miracles happen, what is needed, the circumstances in order for a miracle to happen. In order for a miracle to happen, first of all, there must be the circumstances of there being a need for a miracle.
Yes. I've experienced that.
So if you find yourself thinking, I could really use a miracle right now, whew, you are on fertile ground, my friend. You are on fertile ground. Because in that moment of recognition, if you can simultaneously add to it, you don't even have to do a thing. This is all you got to do. Open your mind to the possibility, the consideration that it could be different. Notice that I didn't say plan out every detail to prove to yourself that it could be different. Just holding the space, the idea, the thought. One, I recognize a miracle is needed. Two, I believe something different can happen, even though they're moving the same way, even though they're looking the same way, even though they're using the same tone of voice, even though life looks exactly the same as it did the last time I looked around. I believe that it is possible for something different to happen. That is all that's needed. That is all that's needed. That's how simple it is. That's all that's needed. You want to know how simple it is for the body to kick in its healing mechanism? Do you want to know how simple it is to allow the body to make a spiritual connection? Only one thing's needed for that. Relaxation. Your body must be in a relaxed state in order to heal and restore itself, and in order to make a spiritual connection. So let's just say, just for theory's sake, that one wanted to profit off of the unwellness of people. And that could be monetary gains, could be energetic gains, profit.
They're going to make the environment that is contrary to a relaxed state.
You got it.
So
don't relax for a second because you might miss something, or relax because you might open yourself up to everything. Everything. How powerful. When I made that connection, when I stopped saying, I got to get this muscle to just let go. And I started to say, as long as this person relaxes into this session. I mean, I don't even think like I got to work you out. I just think loving thoughts, quite honestly. This is the secret to my massage. The whole time I'm working on you, I think about how amazing you are, how resilient and vibrant your beingness is, how capable you are, how whole you are, how complete you are, how you have everything that's within you. I pour love into you. Those areas that you carry tension, I just say, this is someone who carries a lot because they care a lot. And I honor the fact that you care so much. I feel the tightness in the legs. And I just love the fact that these legs, they take you everywhere. So much that you don't even have to think about them because they hadn't been speaking up like your neck or your shoulder or your back. So I just love your legs as I'm working on them. And the feedback that I get 100% of the time is that they can't believe how relaxed they are during the session and how they were able to sink into go somewhere. Like a lot of people fall asleep, but sometimes people are like, I didn't fall asleep, but I wasn't here. I don't know where I was. And they're just like coming back in for a landing. And that's what I feel like happens. In traditional Thai medicine theory, everything's looked at by the elements. And there's actually 6 elements in the Thai system, which is what sets it apart from all the other systems as well. And why I feel like it's the most truthful one, or most aligned. That would be a good way to say it. The elements. So the body is made up of the element of earth and water. It is what gives our body structure and the ability to move. The elements of earth and the elements of water. It is brought to life and animated through fire and through wind. So like our passion, our desire to move forward, that hunger, aging, ripening, all of that's heat, all of that's fire element, where our breath is wind. And it's the wind that actually moves us. So these elements come together to give us our physical experience of self. But then we have 2 other elements that are still at play. The 5th element is consciousness. And consciousness is just the void of the other 4 elements. So again, let's take this to the Western scientific lens. It's the 99.9% space that's inside each of the atoms that make you. Consciousness. And where we have the void of those 4 elements, where consciousness appears, where space appears. I said the wrong one. Where space appears. Space is the 5th element, which is the void of consciousness. I might have said that wrong. Space is the 5th element, the void of the other 4, and where space opens up. So you think about taking a nap. You talk about being on a massage table, doing that physical opening up of the muscles. You're creating space, and where you have space, then the 6th element comes in, which is consciousness, which is your sense of self. So when the body relaxes, when you get those 4 elements to hold still, you allow in the 5th element of space. And that 5th element of space allows the 6th element of consciousness, which is why you can take a nap, or you can spend time on a massage table. You can go outside for a walk, or even just go take a shower and feel like a completely different person, feel like yourself again, because you allowed the void of those other elements. You stopped focusing solely on those elements that make you up, and you allowed that space to open up by going for that walk, by taking that nap. And then that always brings through consciousness. And I think that if we're not bringing in that full story, we're kind of missing out on part of the equation. And then we bring in that story. You can look at the elemental qualities of earth, of water. So earth is like anything that gives structure or form. So this physical, like anything that has physicality, has the element of earth in it. Water is what gives that mobility. It also is associated with our emotions. And then you've got, the heat, the passions, the anger of fire. And you've got wind. So wind can look like scattered thoughts, unclear thinking, don't know which direction to go, feel like you're all over the place, right? And then you look at our modern society. Everywhere we turn, anger is being thrown at you. You don't know which way to go. You're so confused. Oh, first of all, you got sugar and alcohol and wheat in your system. So that's going to cause you to feel confused and foggy-brained anyway, let alone the lack of sleep and hydration, all that. Then you got, all this emotional stuff that's coming at you. Like we're inundated by these 4 elements all the time. But if we can take that time to make this space, then we can return back to our consciousness. And that's where that relaxation comes in. And then the body starts to restore, and those spiritual connections, the memory that you're more than just this physical meat suit that is late and better get there and not enough. Whenever it does show up, there's so much more of you. And that's part of the reason we're at odds with ourselves, because we're like, I know I've got all this greatness inside and I'm just not showing up and following through. Maybe it's not because you're not good enough. Maybe it's because you just don't have to be. You don't have to be. You don't have to be good enough. You just have to be willing and committed. You just got to show up, because you get good at something when you continue to show up at it. Your commitment is what starts the evolution. The evolution is what allows the unfoldment. We are energetic beings that are on this physical landscape. So everything happens in a linear unfoldment of time. That's how we experience things on this realm. But you're that acorn that has a whole tree inside of it. So when you're at the acorn phase, you're energetically an oak tree. And if you judge your acornness when it's not time for your oak tree-ness, you're gonna think you're not enough. But if you understand that that vision that you hold inside of yourself of that mighty oak is just showing you the destiny, then you can be uncomfortable and you can dare to push out and see what's there, and allow yourself to receive the support and the nutrients that's naturally provided. You don't have to be like, how do I make the soil again so I can make my acorn grow? You don't have to do that. It's provided. It's here, almost as if by design. And what if we looked at ourselves that way? And we say, the reason I have this desire for the future is because it's inevitable. It's part of my destiny. And what if it's there to show me and to remind me who I am, so that I can spend my time learning all the ways that I'm not living in alignment, that I'm not in action the way that I'm talking, the way that I'm thinking. And this is what happens. Like, energetically speaking, we're all programmed to go through a big shift around the age of 30. Physiologically speaking, our brain fully develops, so we start to think differently. If we judge ourselves beforehand, or we don't understand that sequencing, then we'll fail to realize that this is just an ongoing evolution. You don't have to figure it all out. You just have to be a willing participant to show up. And you'll know if you're supposed to show up because you'll have breath. And as long as you have breath, you have permission. As long as you have permission, you matter. As long as you matter, you have a purpose. As long as you have a purpose, then it matters how you take care of yourself, because the only way you're going to tap into all of your potential, the only way you're going to find that fulfillment is if you honor yourself first. And what's interesting is that we can say to ourselves, well, just put me in that place that I want to be in the future, and then I'll do it. No, you won't, because you won't have the habits in place. You have the habits in place that support your current life, which is why your current life keeps going the way that it's going. It's not a reflection of your willingness or your ability. It's a reflection of your current habits. Your current habits are based on your current belief in who you are. You change who you are, you change your habits. You change your habits, you change your life. And in order to maintain that life, if you were dropped into it, you would have to have the habits in place to maintain it, or else your habits are going to bring you right back to where you were, which is why people do that. They slingshot forward and then slide back again. And then we take it as failure. There must be something wrong with me. Well, what if that was just teaching you how to be and how not to be through the contrast? And then you realize, oh, the contrast isn't punishment. The suffering, I'm sorry, it's not optional. It's guaranteed. Suffering will be had. Yeah. To the degree of which and how bad you make it, that is up to you. And I'm going to say this from a spot of, especially if you're not truly in an in-the-moment, life-threatening survival situation. That requires a whole nother skill set, which is the resiliency, which is the survival, which is the instinct that most of us are running in all the time. But there's actually not an ongoing threat. There's just the appearance of an ongoing threat to keep the illusion of imbalance so that you stay diseased, perhaps, and stuck maybe in a monetary system that other people profit from. But I think it's more of an energetic system to keep you from thriving. But it has nothing to do with money. It's not about them having more money. It's about making sure that you don't have any of it. That's why they burn it all. They don't care about that because they know it's nothing except for an illusion that keeps us under a spell. Or what if? What if? Show up to life as if and see if it changes for you. And if you need some guidance, hit me up.
Right. And going back to your comment about how you said most people make that shift around 30. I came to this understanding of energy, frequency, and vibration in 2024, March of 2024. Here we are, June of 2026. And I'm not at the 30 mark yet, but I feel as though what people need to understand is if you've lived 30 years of not making the right decisions, let's be honest, living a degenerate lifestyle to some extent, and you do find this, it's not a practice, it's not love. You do come to this lifestyle, it's going to take time for that change to happen. It's not immediate. People are like, okay, I hear what you're saying. You're a holistic healer. You're a coach. You're a mentor. You know what you're talking about. I've been practicing this for 30 days. I've been practicing this for 60 days. Why is it not happening? 60 days compared to 30 years or 20 years. Like it takes time.
It takes time.
And I feel as though that is definitely a reason why people might not validate this lifestyle, because they're just like, hey, if I work hard for 6 months, I could see some type of goal being reached or achieved because I can see it. I have a conversation with my boss. He or she is saying, you're doing a great job. You know, I see the reviews that I'm getting based off of my work. The income that I'm making these past 6 months have been improving. So I see that, but in 6 months, now I'm trying to change my mindset into believing and understanding about a world that I can't see. And I'm only giving it 6 months to rewire and change and reposition what I have been doing not wrongly, but, you know, unknowingly for 20 years. You can't size the two like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what I would say to someone, if you were to be starting out, take an assessment of your life.
Yeah.
And then give yourself 30 days and take a reassessment, right? If we were to look at it like that. So I would say in order I focus a lot on embodiment and integration, because I think there's a lot of people that talk about some of the stuff that we've discussed today. But the real magic, if you will, happens. The real miracle comes into play with integration and embodiment. So up until 30, we're living off of other people's opinions and beliefs.
Yeah.
We don't realize that we're doing that because we haven't taken time to stop and realize that a lot of the things that you use to form and make decisions on aren't facts, they're opinions. And that a lot of those opinions aren't even your own. They're what somebody else has said to you. It's their opinion. So there's something to be said about having direct experience versus just going off of opinions. So if you can understand that evolution, like you're at this point where you're like, wait a minute, I don't actually believe the things that I'm doing anymore. Like even what I'm saying, I don't really believe this. What I really believe, okay, say for example, I could look at my schedule and say I have 5 clients when I need 10 clients in order to securely pay all of my bills, right? I can look at that and say, this is all that I've been given and this is all that I have and it's not enough. Or I can look at that and say, okay, have we lived through the week yet? Because if I look at it and just take in the 3D, just take in the physicality, and I'm like, but I'm looking at this. This is reasonable. This is logical. This is what we can expect because this is what's on the books. First of all, we're not even talking about the fact that all 5 of those people could cancel. So I don't even have anything guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. None of it is guaranteed. None of it. We have expectations. We have assumptions. None of it's guaranteed. It can all change in a second. Remember that day that you woke up and all of a sudden we couldn't go outside for 2 weeks? Yeah, anything can happen at any time. Nothing is certain. So keep that in mind. But if you look at that and you say, I don't have enough. I'm not being provided enough. And then you take time to ask yourself, what is it that I truly believe? Do I believe that some people get enough and other people don't? Or do I believe that I'll be provided for? And this is where you have to take inventory of your own belief system, because a lot of us get introduced to these concepts, this law of attraction or this abundance mentality and this manifesting ideas. And we think, no, this is what I believe. I believe in an abundant universe. I believe all is going to be provided for. And then you look at your schedule and you only got 5 people and you're like, where are my people? But I thought you said that you were going to be provided for. So do you believe you're going to be provided for, or do you believe that what's on this 3D is all that there is? Which one is it? You got to choose. You're out of alignment. So you got to start to live your beliefs, and that's integration. It's like you grew up with all of this put into you. You started putting some good stuff into you, but now that good stuff's got to bypass the old stuff so that all that is not you starts to come to surface and spill out over the top. And that's where we get symptoms. You can look, the interesting thing about symptoms of healing and the symptoms of disease are the exact same thing. At what point does it tip from one to the other? When it's at its height of imbalance, then it tips into balance again. This is the way that it works. So you can look at those symptoms as something that's coming on. It's an onset. It just showed up and more's on its way if you don't do all the right things. Or is it on its way out? Is it showing up because what it has been in your system is on its way back out, and now it's showing up in the physical? Because this is the interesting thing. It always happens in the energetic and then the physical, all of it. You think to yourself, I'm hungry. I'd like to eat some lunch. A pizza sounds good. You picture that in your mind. You don't freak out because bam, it's not right there in front of you. You're not like, I just thought of this pizza, but it's not here. It's never coming. You think to yourself, oh, I want this pizza. There's steps to getting it. And you take the actions because you hold the belief that that pizza is going to show up at some point in front of you, and there it is. Everything that we do operates in this same way. You're just consciously participating with some of it, and you're subconsciously participating with the majority of it. And the magic starts to happen. The adulting starts to happen when you consciously choose to override your default way of thinking whenever you realize your default way of thinking is incongruent with the beliefs that you hold. And when you continue to hold beliefs and live incongruently, dis-ease is inevitable. Because you're not allowing yourself to process fully that which is coming in. You're blocking it. And this isn't to say that you can, even using the word blocking it, I think so many of our healing terms are so outdated because they're all from that limited paradigm that only takes us so far, where we got to bust through and beyond that because we're so much more than that. You're never disconnected from your higher self. Your higher self is the energetic part of you that vibrates at a frequency that you can't perceive with your other senses. That's it. You can't see your thoughts because they resonate. It's a part of you that's at a higher vibrational frequency, so it's not in density and it doesn't take form. All of life materializes this way. It begins with the thought and then it comes through the physical. So when we shifted in the energetic, there's a time period of healing and restoration before the healing and restored physical reality becomes our physical reality. So you set that goal for 30 days out. You look at it, say, this is where my life is at. If you take that same belief of looking around and assessing 30 days in, you're going to find that this doesn't work. But if you take that 30 days where every day you say, okay, whenever I see the physical, I'm going to challenge myself to get curious. What if there's more to the story? What if this is old news? What if these 5 people booked show me what I was doing for the last 3 months, not what I'm doing today? And if I want a full schedule in the future, then maybe if I start building different habits now, I'll have a different result in the future. Everything works this way. It's just a matter of the story that we tell ourselves and how much we decide it's life-threatening. And so much of what we act like is life-threatening really isn't life-threatening because you still got breath, which is really the only thing that's life-threatening is being without that. Everything else is just, the physical doing what the physical does. So when we understand that, then we can look at that and say, okay, 30 days from now, I might not be where my mind projects myself being, because we can use logic. We can say if I talk to 100 people every day for the next 30 days, then, that's what, 30 100 people, 3,000 people, and then 10% of that are going to say yes. Then we got 300 people, and then we got what, you know what I'm saying? Like we can look at it like that and we can judge it like that, or we can bring in the more of the story. Sometimes the things that you go after aren't meant for you to be obtained because if you attained that at that time, you'd still be at a detriment. If I had gained this body through changing myself in the physical, I would be under the belief that I have to forever be different in the physical in order to have this experience of me. And if I believe that my worth and my value is hinged upon what my physical looks like, then in order to have worth and value, I got to keep doing these steps. That was a broken paradigm for me. I had to change that around. I had to have work and value first before I ever had the audacity to be disciplined enough to show up and care for myself. And all of that was habitual way of running off of an old system of thinking that was based on how people treat me will determine what my worth and my value is. And then I will try to change myself to make this awesomeness that I have inside try to come out some way so that people will just see it, get it, accept it, love me. This is all very primal, by the way. This is very much our survival instincts. We are tribal people. And back in the day, before we had social media and all the things that we have around us, and we lived in tribes, we depended on that tribe to keep us alive. So our ability to be accepted amongst a tribe of people, vital for our survival. Because if you were put outside of that tribe and nobody has your back, you're way more vulnerable. So it's a natural inclination, a self-preservation, a survival instinct in us to be liked, to sacrifice who we are and to cater to other people to get their acceptance. But what's so interesting is that what we like about everybody is who they are without all that stuff. We like them when they're real, when they're authentic, when they're not trying to be something, when they're just being who they are. That's when we like people. That's when we enjoy them. But we're thrown into this world that immediately starts the programming. And again, we can say, oh, what a shame. And we can point fingers at who's to blame. Or we can say, that just is how it is, baby. So what are you going to do about it now? Are you going to continue to suffer? Are you only going to find peace when everybody believes you and everybody adopts the same philosophy? I mean, of course, it would be great. I would love nothing more than to walk away from our conversation and everybody that I run into be embodying this belief. It would make my life so much easier. But that's not the way that it is, because we get the contrast. We get it all here. And we're going to get exactly the experience that we need to have to be able to refine and fine-tune our discernment over deciding how we lay down that narrative, what all this decoration of the universe is saying and meaning. And not only saying and meaning, but really what it comes down to, what is it saying and meaning about me? Because that's like the precipice of all of this. There's nowhere that I go that I'm not there. And that's why people like try to move to a different state to start a new life. And then they're like, this sucks too, because they took themselves and the state that they're trying to get away from with them. It's an inside out job. And that's why the approach that I take with business, for example, I look at it as we just set aside the fact that you want to have a business, and we focus on the fact that you are going to be living the most honest expression of yourself. And when you learn who you are and you allow yourself to express that as a natural side effect, you're going to have something happening called a business, because there's a part of you that came here for service to others. And in exchange for that service, we could say the way that it looks on this 3D realm, you're being provided for everything you need in abundance. And the best way to keep you separated from that is to build the illusionary screen of scarcity and not enoughness. And then preying on all these natural survival instincts that keep you alive in truly threatening situations. And people are just much more easier. I mean, anybody who's done any kind of studying on like abusive relationships, with controlling and narcissism and like all of that stuff, like this is the pattern that abusers follow. And it's kind of like the pattern that's set up in our society. And again, we can get lost in who's to blame and how do we fix it? How we fix it is by not being a part of it. Not allowing yourself to succumb to that pile of sugar. Allowing yourself to honor the fact that your next 36 hours are worth so much more than that temporary taste sensation. Your experience of you, how you experience others, it's all determined on how you are doing. That's why like how you are feeling determines on if you got time for what that person has to say or not. It has nothing to do with that person. It's all about you. You hold all the power. You are the problem in the situation, but you're also the solution. And when I could start looking at my life as, this isn't a problem, this is showing me where to bring in the solution, then it was totally different. Now, like I've had to, like for years, I've been talking about living into a place that I now feel like is my day-to-day normal. Because for so long, I was in a place of debt, not enoughness, like financial debt, and not enoughness, not enough clients, not enough people, not enough whatever, not enough. Too much of the things I didn't want, not enough of the stuff that I did want. And now tables have shifted, and some people that have been hanging around my life are like, I owe you an apology. You actually are doing and saying everything that you said that you would do and say, and it just took a little longer than we expected. Yeah, it took a little longer than I expected to be quite honest, and we're still not there yet, because this is all still an ongoing evolution. We're not there yet, and we're always exactly the only place that there is to be right now. But we take this as the present. We take this as like, what's new? It's so weird because we don't even do that. We act like whenever we step back out there, we're returning back to the life that we stepped in from. What? You're not going back to where you can't go backwards. There's only forward. It might look like your house when you walk back inside. It might look like your family. It might look like all the same circumstances. Everything's where you left it. But no, guess what? It's a brand new unfoldment. That means what happened yesterday could happen again today, or something completely could happen. Completely different could happen. And how you decide to interact with that determines your reality. So we can look at life as, if it's not before me, it doesn't mean that it's not coming. It must mean that there's still stewardship to be done, still faith to demonstrate, and a lot of times more self-worth and value to cultivate. Because if I gained the body that validated my self-worth, I would never truly have self-worth. But if I gain the self-worth and then I steward the body, guess what? I never lose. And I don't think we'll be given. It's like handing the keys over to your toddler. They might be interested in driving the car, but recklessly irresponsible to actually give them the keys. And we know this as an adult, right? So when we can use our adult perspective, when we can take that step back and realize like, okay, this is a matter of maturity and responsibility. There are certain skill sets that have to be in place before we can just hand this to you. That's the same way that life is working. It's like the keys to your dream life are being handed to you, but before you can take them, you've got to show that you're going to take care of it. Because why am I going to let you in my mansion when you're not even taking care of your apartment? Why should I give you $20,000 whenever I give you $20, you can't even keep up with it? Why are you even wanting more when you're not managing what you already have?
How I see increasing your frequency and, to your point, being able to hold more over time, it's like trying to heat up water or cause it to boil. You have to be consistent with the amount of heat that you are putting on that pot.
That's a great way to say it.
Over a course of time. You're continuously, that consistent effort internally, changing your diet, changing your environment, changing how you view the world, how you view yourself. And over time, your frequency is going to grow to a point where you're now able to handle your dreams, your visions, your goals.
You got it.
That you set out for yourself when you initially turn the dial.
You got it.
And also, you said a lot. I just want to make sure I'm tackling all that
I'm
stuff.
known for that.
Going back to the whole acorn example in the oak tree, and truly understanding that all of us have a divine purpose in life. And I truly believe that our divine purpose in life is to positively impact society. But to the people in my community or people I've come across who are bereft and they might not know what their purpose is, but they know that it's more than their job. I tell them, if you don't know what your purpose is, pursue the best version of yourself. Pursue the healthiest, most peaceful, smartest, most intellectual version of yourself. And through you pursuing that, your purpose will find you.
Yeah, be revealed.
Because when you change yourself, your reality changes.
You got it.
People want their life to change, but keep the same habits, keep the same people around, keep the same diets, whatever. They're like, nothing's changing. Your mindset has changed, but your habits haven't changed. And the world of the 3D is a reflection of what's internal. Like you said, you're not aligned.
Yep.
You have to be in full, complete alignment and consistent with the heating the water for your reality to change. You can't be teetering. You can't have one foot.
Just keep the heat on.
Yeah, you can't be talking the talk.
And you can't just turn the heat on and not mind to it. You got to tend to it because there's a responsibility with it. Yeah, I have this theory currently that the world seems to be being perpetuated to like not grow up. Like there's this adult child thing that's really strong and prevalent in our society. And, nobody wants to be an adult, and adulting is
Because
boring.
it's easy to complain. It's easy to point fingers. This is not working for me. After work, what are we doing? We're going to search catharsis, and we're going to, drink and talk, and then life is so hard. It's easy to have those conversations. It's not easy to sit in silence with your emotion and knowing I can reach for that bottle. I can reach for that external pleasure, but I'm choosing not to, and I'm going to deal with that. That's challenging.
It is very challenging. That's very challenging. And it's hard to step into. And again, this comes down to self-identity. If you don't self-identify as someone who would step into that, like that's for brave people, or that's for other people, that's not for me, then I would encourage you just to start with that desire. Notice the fact that you have a curiosity there. Notice that that would make a difference to you. And even if today you still grab the bottle, be honest with yourself. Start being honest with yourself. Because there's only so much of your own BS that you will take before you change your life. And you don't change whenever everybody else is tired of your BS. They tell you all the time, change. You're like, whatever, I'm dealing with stuff. Give me space, right? Yeah. It's when you're like, oh, who's been in charge around here? This stuff's got to clean up, that we change.
And speaking of that, thank you so much for bringing that up. You're giving me flashbacks to 2024. Because when you were saying when men go down this path, they get furious.
Yeah.
Oh, man. The fury, when I realized back then, oh my gosh, this has been the answer this whole entire time, I started getting mad at myself.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy because I was so frustrated. I was so mad. I'm like, I can't believe I was asleep this whole entire time.
Right.
I kept saying to myself, the veil has lifted. Like I was seeing life from a different perspective, and people in my life started dropping out like flies. I was pruning. I stopped doing stuff. I mean, dairy is just one out of the multitude of things that I started eschewing out of my life. And I'm just like, this is crazy. But the first emotion was surprised and then immediately anger.
So you want to know what anger is energetically? Anger is suppressed passion.
Because always
if we look at it like as light and dark, if we just look at contrast, right? And not that dark's wrong, it's just the contrast, right? It's actually our shadows. Any artist out there will agree. It's our shadows that give us our value. But when we start a new endeavor, it's our shadows that we want to run from, that we want to push away. Because if we can just get over those shadows, then we'll be magnificent. No, you have to embrace them and understand they're part of what makes your contour, what gives you value, is that shadow part of self. So when I say light and dark, I don't mean like good and bad. That's typically how we experience them, but that doesn't mean that. That's 3D. That's taking an all multidimensional and making it dimensional, right? So the light side is passion. The dark side is anger. So when passion is suppressed, it inverts and it turns into anger. So the next time you find yourself angry, or next time you find someone in your life angry, especially if you would like to love and support them, or just clear it for yourself, connect to what it is that they're passionate about. If they're yelling, what do you know they care about? So like I see this happen a lot in parenting. Like a child will fall down, like do something careless, fall down and get hurt, and then get yelled at. And then they think, why am I getting in trouble for getting hurt? But what they don't realize is that that parent doesn't know how to express their passion for their care for their child. So it comes out inverted as anger. So if you can see the anger and you can read back to the passion, then you can better understand what people are saying. So in the midst of someone's anger, you can say, I can tell you're extremely passionate about this, what you're talking about. And when you can recognize their passion, then they have the opportunity. I'm banging into everything because I always talk with my hands everywhere. Then they have the ability to be able to be recognized and validated, and then connect to the fact that that is what they care. There's something that they care about. And when they realize that they care, then they can change and bring in the compassion to soothe the instance or to better communicate what it is that's going to be happening. This is why energetics is like ongoingly fascinating to me and so completely basic to my everyday survival, understanding the energetics behind another person so that I can take how things appear to be and understand the energy that's behind them. So I say very often, confusion is the sign of an illusion. If you're like, what? Why would you talk to me that way? I'm confused, right? We don't say that. We just say like, how dare you? And we push against it, right? But if we realize what we're doing, we're reacting because we're confused over what's happening. Then we can follow that curiosity into a different line of conversation that doesn't have to do with defending and survival and can be led with compassion and connecting with another person to better understand. There's a really wise saying, I think it was St. Francis of Assisi, but I could be wrong on that said, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And implementing that in my life was a complete and total game changer. Because so often we're so busy seeking that validation and to be heard and to be understood that we don't realize the only way someone else even opens up to receive what we bring to the table is that they first feel understood. And when they're understood, they can allow themselves to be vulnerable and curious about what you're bringing to the table. Otherwise, they are going to be fighting for their own validity. And you can extend that to them to begin with. It'll give you a completely different experience. And that's what's cool about it, is that your life is no longer dictated by the people that are being thoughtless around you. Your life is dictated by how you choose to process the energy that's being thrown at you. You don't have to catch it, by the way. If you don't like what's being thrown at you, just change it in the air. Catch something different, toss them something different in return, because you're not just taking in energy, you're also transmuting it out. That's another cool thing about tuning forks. Every single one of our cell membranes have little tuning forks that stick out the side that are receptors bringing in the frequency. Right? If our higher self, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions are at a higher energetic frequency, if you want to get into a higher frequency, then get into a higher lane of thinking, because that thought is a frequency. That is what's determining how you decide to proceed forward. So shifting your vibration is as easy as shifting your line of thinking. You allow yourself to energetically align with a different possibility, a different reality, a different outcome, and then you keep the heat on that burner. You simmer at that frequency, watch how life delivers it nonstop, but so much deeper, so much richer, so much more fulfilling. And you know why it's going to be deep and rich and fulfilling? Because you had that wonderful phase of suffering that you went through first. And you know how good feeling good feels because you know how bad feeling bad feels. And you'll hit a point in your life when you accept this, I believe this wholeheartedly, well, you'll begin to appreciate those suffering moments where they will bring a smile to your face because you will recognize them as an old friend, the old friend of change coming in, because that frustration is a sign that you are evolving and that you have an opportunity to make a choice. Are you going to double down in the way that you're thinking that life is limited and you're the victim? Or are you going to integrate and fully embrace and receive? And this is why a lot of people really good attractors and not good receivers, they think, oh, I don't have enough. No, you got plenty. You're not receiving it. You're not integrating. You're not allowing it in because you're not receiving the suffering. You're pushing it away because you think that the goodness is only the sweet stuff and you don't even realize the sweet stuff's only sweet because of the suffering. So when you can embrace the suffering as the beginning of the healing process, you're going to have such a different experience. Just like if you came to the massage table with a brand new onset, but you see it as something that's making its way out instead of something that's making its way in. It will give you a completely different experience of yourself. And again, we can sit here and chit about it all we want, but it's going to be in you actually taking these concepts, daring yourself, being brave and courageous. And you don't have to do it with the biggest, scariest things in the world. You don't have to go in and be like, all right, I quit my job and I'm out of here. I mean, if you do that, let me tell you, your life will completely change very rapidly, very fast, and it can go in a very powerful way. But we're more likely to align and shift with the change if it happens as an evolution. We're better temperamented for that. But keeping that burner on, like you said, keeping that heat cooking at that one steady temperature, eventually all the water's gonna catch up. But just because you're not seeing those first little bubbling starts doesn't mean that it's not on the way. And just because it sits there and sends up those little bubbles for a very long period of time and doesn't get into a rapid boil, it doesn't mean you won't get there. But you might find sometimes that when you go down that path that you actually, that's not the right path for you, but you wouldn't have known it if you didn't pursue it as passionately as you did. And when we can see that as like, oh, this is just a redirection, not a no, not a shutdown, not a lack of resources, a redirection. There must be something down this path for me too. There must be something more for me to learn and discover about myself. And when you stop being afraid of being who you are and seeing who you are just within yourself, you don't even have to do it publicly, just within yourself, it could change your whole life. I've heard it said before, like I died 1,000 deaths and nobody knew it but myself. And that's the evolution. That's the karmic cycle, if you will. Are you really dealing with past life stuff, or are you just dealing with who you used to be within the same timeline? Because their stories could be very, very similar.
Well, Crissy, this was a powerful, scintillating conversation. Do you have any...
Do you guys want to do any demonstration of any other things?
It's totally up to you. Totally up to you.
Yeah, if you would like to do a demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'll say some of my favorite healing modalities. There are several different things that I like to work with. I like to work with crystal singing bowls as well as metal titanium singing bowls. I use them in sound baths as well as individual healing experiences, along with some nature chimes. I'm a big fan of all of the nature sounds, which I have a couple different chimes back here that I can take off and do here. So sounds like this that come from nature.
And what are those used for?
So anything that mimics sounds in nature, everything gives off its own frequency, regardless if it's making a sound actually, or if it's making an audible sound for us. Everything carries a vibrational frequency. The vibrational frequencies that are found in nature are by design, kind of like the food that's found in nature, by design, harmonize and balance our system. So all of nature you could look at as being provided as a way to recalibrate ourselves. And even the earth itself gives off a vibrational resonance. It's known as the Schumann resonance. And so that's why going out into nature and taking a walk and listening to the sounds of nature can completely change how you're feeling and your overall sense of well-being, because you're surrounded by these frequencies that are actually harmonizing and clearing out and balancing your own energy field. So I like to work with the nature sounds, especially in doing like sound bath experiences, and really take them into an opportunity of being with the sound and letting the frequencies come through them. And then the different mental images that come up can be unique for each individual person, but some pretty profound healing experiences can happen with them just by using nature sounds. You can also work with like a koshi chime, which also brings some really great chords, and it's almost like having an indoor wind chime.
Wow.
It's definitely one of my favorites. I like to use that as that like precipice kind of going in and out of the transition of using the different sounds as we move from like the more natural woody kind of sounds of the nature and over into the more metallic sounds of the tuning forks and singing bowls. So that one's one of my favorites for sure. And then the most practical ones that I work with on a day-to-day basis and use most often are both weighted and non-weighted tuning forks. What I like about these is that they come in specific frequencies so that you can align them with your specific healing intentions. Some sets can be aligned to like the different chakras, because each chakra has its own frequency. And there's a specific set of tuning forks that I like to work with in particular that are set to the solfeggio scale, which is a set of 9 different tones that are just known to have very powerful healing and balancing effects on the body. They're known to help to have analgesic effects so that they can be pain relieving. Some of them are known for restoring damaged tissue and DNA restructuring. And they're just such powerful little instruments. And the weighted ones are great for applying on the body. So while they don't make as loud of an audible tone as the non-weighted ones, It's a very muted kind of sound. If you're nearby, you'll be able to hear the hum of the vibration effects, which are known as overtones. And those, while you can't hear them necessarily with the ear as strong, you can feel them with the skin. So your skin can hear them, your bones can hear them, your muscles can hear them. And when placed on the body, you'll feel that vibrational resonance come throughout. And some people feel it in completely different other places of the body than where I'm placing them. But then I can work more locally. If you're having shoulder pain, I can use the 174 hertz is one of my favorites for alleviating analgesic pain, having that analgesic effect to help to alleviate pain. The 528 hertz is known as the frequency of love. So it's known as the miracle tone. It has very powerful restoring healing effects. That's also the frequency of this crystal singing bowl that I have. So I use this one a lot for more of that therapeutic. I'm always balancing that line. You know, I'm a massage therapist first, so I was hands-on, physical body. That's what really spoke to me about the work. The energy stuff just made itself known through the work as I worked on people through the years. And then I find sound healing to be very similar to massage. I find massage to be a great modality to get you reconnected and reintroduced to the fullness of your physical being and to help you to start to build a bridge between your non-physical self and your physical self. Because eventually along the way, I realized that the physical body was actually a roadmap for where the energetic and emotional imbalances are. So when you start to adopt that philosophy with how the feedback that you're getting from your own body, you can completely transform your healing experience. So even if your nagging issue stays, you have a better experience of that discomfort within yourself. And often I say, like, it's one thing to talk about the experience that you're having of your body. What kind of experience is your body having of you? That's a good question to ask yourself. So I find that the tuning forks, the sounds, and especially the vibrational overtones are a really great way to, again, connect the body and the mind together. You're having an energetic experience of your non-physical self while at the same time having a very real physical vibrational experience of your physical self. And the combination of that vibration comes in, it creates space, and where we have space, consciousness comes back, our sense of self comes back. So I love working with all of these tools and doing both individual healing sessions and more of that sound bath kind of experience. So anything else you want to say?
Do you do muscle testing?
I do not do muscle testing. I find it very interesting for sure. It's not the way that I felt called to go with studies. I think it's very valid and very powerful. I will say that you have to have a high level of self-trust in doing that because a lot of it is your own read of the feedback that you get, which kind of is all of this energetic stuff. But yeah, for whatever reason, just not the route that I took, but I think a very valid and a very powerful route for better understanding what somebody needs and what aligns for them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Crissy, do you have any final words that you'd like to say about yourself, your business, any lasting comments?
Yeah, I would say anybody who's interested in what I have going on, the best place to find out is to go to my website, holisticrestoration.com. I have stuff on some social media platforms, but the best way to stay up to date and to contact me and to get in touch and to find out what I have going on, you can definitely go to holisticrestoration.com for that. I have a healing studio downtown Clayton, so I can work with people in person, as well as at a distance. So especially if we're doing more of the coaching and the mindset and working through some of the talking side of healing can be done at a distance. And then I offer both individual and group sessions. So you could book a private sound bath for you and your friends, or even just like a private pop-up workshop where you can come and ask questions and learn more about what aspect you want to learn more about, as well as having like public ones. So I host a monthly meditation group in my healing space where once a month you can come either at noon or 6 p.m. and experience an hour experience for just donation. I wanted to give back and to have an opportunity for people to ask questions and explore more without having to be all in or fully committed to it, and to give them a safe space to ask those questions and explore more. So yeah, definitely holisticrestoration.com is the best place to go to find out what's happening. And you can see a lot of my old videos and stuff there too. So
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. Well, Crissy, thank you so much for your time and coming down here to the studio. It was a pleasure meeting you in person. We had a similar conversation when we first met. I don't know how long we talked, but we talked for a long time.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was great to have a follow-up with you.
For sure.
I'm so sorry. This was great. It reinforced what I already knew. And then also you added great perspectives from your side of things.
Wonderful.
And
Glad it was helpful.
if it was helpful to me, I'm sure it is helpful to our audience. So thank you so much for your time.
Such an honor.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Hey,
That
I'm
was
sweating.
great. Oh, you're sweating? Oh, no,
I'm sweating.
That was great.